attitudes, because that is the thing that will make sure all workers go home safe at the end of the day.
Question number 12, Chris Hipkins.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Associate Minister of Education, does she stand by the Minister of Education's statement regarding teacher shortages that, quote, "This isn't a crisis, it's a shortage, but for the schools experiencing the shortage, they can feel like a crisis," end quote?
The Honourable Nikki Kaye.
Mr Speaker, while that is not a statement I made, I do agree with Minister Parada's statement that there is no crisis and that there are shortages of teachers in some subjects and locations. Overall teacher vacancies have actually declined from close to 12,000 in 2009 to just over 8,000 now. Nationwide, we have more than 80,000 registered teachers in the schooling sector. It's also important to remember vacancies occur for anyone who moves inside the sector, for example, getting promoted or going on parental leave, but their job is held. It's not necessarily a proxy for people leaving the profession.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question, Chris Hipkins.
When the Minister of Education stated, quote, "There isn't literally a shortage, but there are gaps in some subjects and in some of the skill levels," end quote, which subjects and skill levels was she referring to?
The Honourable Nikki Kaye.
Mr Speaker, I think she's previously mentioned that we've got issues around science technology teachers, but also te reo.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question, Chris Hipkins.
How does the Minister of Education define the difference between a shortage and a crisis?
The Honourable Nikki Kaye.
Mr Speaker, I think there are several points to make on this. Previously, under the last Labor government, where we saw the need to intervene, it was to add to add a formal process which required teaching to be put on the essential skills and demand list. We're not at that point. Under the last Labor government, we did have to do that. So from our perspective, where we've got a situation where we don't have overall numbers of less teachers, then we don't consider it a crisis. And I think the member would be interested to know that actually we've seen a lower attrition in the last couple of years, down at 4,800.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question. Order. Supplementary question, Chris Hipkins.
When the Minister of Education made that claim, had she been briefed on the fact that the number of teaching graduates from initial teacher education programs has consistently declined from a peak of 5,630 in 2012 to just 4,045 in 2015?
The Honourable Nikki Kaye.
Mr Speaker, again, while I can't speak for the Minister of Education, what I can say is we take, but I'm happy to answer the question. We do take into account the overall graduate numbers. As I made the previous point in my other answer, looking at the overall attrition, we've seen a drop in attrition. It's not a one-to-one scenario. We have a range of sources for new teachers. They are not just graduates. We have teachers returning from overseas. We also have overseas teachers recruited, and we're investing heavily in that area.
Speaker.
Supplementary question, Dr. Jian.
What is the government doing to improve not only the supply but the quality of teaching?
Speaker.
The Honourable Nikki Kaye.
Last year we announced a $9 million package that funds 100 more scholarships for STEM graduates, a recruitment drive to bring home New Zealand and other teachers from overseas for the first time ever, promoting teaching as a career to tertiary STEM students, and support for individual schools that are having trouble recruiting. We're also committed to lifting the quality of teaching in New Zealand, including by introducing communities of learning kahuiako to help teachers actually focus on teaching and sharing their experience. In 2015, we set up the Education Council, and we've set up a new employment-based teacher education pilot through Teach First NZ.
Very good.
And I have allowed an urgent question from Dr. David Clark to the Minister of Health. Dr.